Hi. So today I want to speak to you about purpose because we're in we're almost at the end of the first week of February. And by now, some of the shiny, glittery bits of those New Year's resolutions have probably worn off. And we are sort of firmly back to reality. And we've realized that 2019 is really a continuation of 2018 and that probably not much has changed unless we actually start doing things more intentionally and we start doing things more purposefully. And so a lot is made of purpose, and a lot of people seem to be really confused about their purpose, as if their purpose is like this thing that is going to be manifest to them, like they're going to have this experience of connecting with purpose, or they're going to one day just download their purpose. Okay, so I was listening to an interesting broadcast by a high performance expert. His name is Brendon Burchard. He's doing a 10-day sort of wellness kind of challengey thing. And he was speaking about purpose. And he has an interesting way of putting it. And I mean, of course, I agree with what he's saying. And so that's what I'm sort of going to paraphrase it and add a bit of Loretta's to it. But basically, your purpose is actually not what you do. Your purpose is who you are. And there are more than 7 billion of us on this planet, and each one of us, even though we're all humans and we all have traits in common and we all have all the same traits, we express those traits in a very unique form. So you are unique. You might be genetically similar to your siblings. You might look like other people. You may have the same skin color as a number of people. You may come from the same ethnic group or background or social group or have the same spiritual belief. But essentially, each one of us expresses our uniqueness in the world. And part of what makes us not able to be on purpose or have a purpose is because we're trying to be like everyone else. We're trying to fit in. And this ties in to the second thing, which is that the one thing that's unique amongst humans is that we have a deep inherent, it's not unique to humans, other animals have it too, but we have an inherent need for connection. So that need for connection and the need to be a unique individual can sometimes conflict with one another, because in order to be connected, we think we have to conform. In order to be connected, we think we have to be accepted, and in order to be accepted, we have to be a certain way, which is why we tend to compare ourselves to others, and we compete with others, and we try and conform so that we can be like others, and we become these little mini-me's of the people that we admire. And we're repulsed by the people that we are repulsed by, essentially. We try absolutely not to be like them. And that's what causes us to form groupings of similarities, right? But that also creates exclusion. So you have to have both. And I would go as far as to say you have to start with celebrating your uniqueness. Stop trying to be someone else. So you might go, yeah, well, I don't know who I am. Well, quite frankly, that's not true. You know exactly who you are. They're just parts of you that you don't want to admit to. They're parts of your awesomeness that you can't own, and they're parts of your awfulness that you can't own either. And we all have all those parts. So the more you can actually get connected to you, the more you can be in touch with you, the more you can embrace all parts of you. Ironically, what happens is your connection to others deepens. Your ability to connect to them deepens. Your empathy for them. If you're empathetic towards yourself, if you can be kind towards yourself, then your empathy towards others and your kindness towards others increases. When you are deeply appreciative and respectful of all your parts, when you can embrace your awful and your awesome, you can embrace the awful and awesome in other people without having to try and be like them or try and avoid being like them. And that increases your connection because you are able then to connect to so many more people. So the job actually starts with you. Your purpose is to get to know who you really are, is to connect with who you really are. And I, of course, believe that you can do that through your physical body because it's part of it. It's you, right? It's the you that's carrying you around. It's not all of you, but it is. Without it, the rest of us here in this physical incarnation, we wouldn't know that you were around. All right. So you can connect to who you are by connecting to your physical body. When you start listening to the signals of your physical body, when you can connect to your need for rest, when you can start meeting your needs, when you can rest when you need to rest, when you can nourish yourself in the way in which you need to be nourished, when you can eat when you're physically hungry, when you can eat what really satisfies you physically, mentally, and emotionally, for example. I mean, you can use food, you can use thirst, you can use hunger, when you start tapping into the signals, when you start tapping into the signals that your body is feeding you about what's actually happening in your subconscious mind, you start becoming clearer and clearer about what values, what matters most to you. And that starts revealing your unique way of expressing yourself in the world. And then you start moving from the being phase into the doing phase. And here's the thing, if you don't really know who you are, why don't you start being who you'd like to be? Why don't you start thinking, how would you like to be? How would I like to show up? How would I like others to see me in the world? How would I like to be? It's not about what the others think, it's how would I like to be? What is going to satisfy me if I show up in a certain way? So do I want to show up as kindness? Do I want to show up as truthfulness? Do I want to show up as shooting from the hip and straightforward? Do I want to show up as empathetic and peacemaking? I don't know. How do you want to show up in the world? And then ask yourself, what would I have to do? What skills would I need to learn? What would I have to cultivate in order to be more like that? Because when you start being able to do that, then you start seeing how you start expressing yourself uniquely. And that then leads to the what are you doing? So your purpose is not your career. Your purpose is not your family. Your purpose is how you show up in the world being the most authentic version of you. So how do you celebrate your uniqueness? And you celebrate your uniqueness by allowing your uniqueness to be seen. Then you can instead of waiting for purpose to download, ka-ching, having like a burning bush experience, why don't you find the purpose in everything in your life? Why don't you ask yourself, what is the purpose of me doing this job? What is the purpose of me shooting this clip? The purpose of me shooting this clip is to make you aware of the fact that your purpose is not just going to download. You're not going to have a vision and you may, if you're lucky, but that's like lightning strikes and lottery wins. It doesn't happen often. So find your purpose. Find a purpose in what you're doing. Find a purpose in making the breakfast for the kids. Find a purpose in packing the lunchbox. Find a purpose in answering the email. So if you answer this email, what is it going to mean to the other person? And and let's just say that I'll give you an example. So someone emails me and they ask me for advice, right? So what is the purpose of having to reply to this email? I could be going like, I actually don't. I mean, I do. Emails and admin irritates me, right? But the purpose of replying to this person is A, to give them an answer, B, to connect with them where they are, C, to foster a deeper connection between me and that person, D, to help that person, and E, to keep that person bonded to me, because let's say that person is a patient of mine, I want to retain them as a patient, and that then will help keep that patient in my practice. So that then has a business purpose. Or the purpose of the mail is to tell the patient that they actually need more than an email, and so they need to make an appointment to come and see me. And when they do that, then that grows my business, that increases my connection with them because now I'm physically with them. That allows me to practice how I want to be in the world, and how I want to be in the world is I want to be intentional, and I want to be focused, and I want to be able to meet people where they are. That's how I want to be at this point in my life, right? So that allows me to be that way, and it allows me to be of service. So another way that you can connect your purpose is literally to volunteer. To actually, if you don't know what it is that you want to do with your life, you know what? Volunteer your time somewhere. Animal shelter, a homeless shelter, orphanage, whatever, okay? Baby shelter, it doesn't matter. Volunteer your time somewhere, not just so that you can be grateful for what you have, but because that will give you purpose, right? Because you'll feel like you're making a difference and that your life has some sort of meaning. So purpose is about having a why, like why am I here and what's the point? If you don't ask yourself those questions regularly, not the big question like why am I here and what's my universal purpose, like, why am I here shooting this clip for you today? Because if I can find a purpose in that, then that makes this particular activity purposeful. And when you start becoming, it's like when I say, look out for how many red cars there are on the road. When you start looking for red cars, all you see is red cars, right? So when you start looking for purpose, you're going to find it. And the more you find it, the more you are going to feel as if you're living on purpose, and the more your wellness is going to improve. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of the week. It's almost the end of it. And I'll speak to you next time I'm inspired.